Okay, so in this video we are going to be comparing this sword with the shield. So the shield, as you may or may not know, is one of my favorite weapons in the game because it can deflect bullets, it can deflect even the blue energy projectiles from some of the zombies. And it can also deal damage pretty well by rubbing these, what would you call it? I guess just texture up against enemies actually deals a fair amount of damage. So, it is going up against, however, this guy. And although it's an interesting balance of sword for the game, because it's not this small where you have basically no range, but like if you look at the katana, which I would say is the best weapon in the game aside from the ones that use ammo, they're pretty much the same length, especially compared to like the claymore, obviously. But I would say it's still a bit unwieldy in one hand, and two-handed weapons in this game aren't the best, but we will see how it does. So let's resume at round 9, that way it's a bit more interesting. And yeah, let's start off with the shield first. Now of course you could say, why not have both, which is understandable. For one thing, it is a bit nicer to focus on one weapon at a time, especially in Boneworks. Oh, that was easy. Okay. See, like here, see, it blocks it, but I will say it doesn't block it if you hold the shield close to you. You have to hold it far out in front of you. And also what I've done with the shield is I always turn it into my arm, that way it's more like a shield like this instead of a shield like this where you're like punching with it, which does work, but I prefer the turning it to side option, where it kind of cuts through your arm if you twist your wrist like that. And yeah, it does pretty well. And again, it is mainly protective, and it does a very good job of that. But it also does a pretty good job at damaging. Now, I would not suggest using the edge of the shield. Obviously, historically and in real life, using the edge of the shield would be a good combat advantage. But in this game, all these little knobs are very good at dealing multiple hits of damage. That is how the katana works. It deals multiple hits of damage along its blade. So, as you can see, there's pretty much nothing to worry about with bullets. The one issue is, of course, if you're flanked from multiple directions, then shield is a bit less viable. Also, the most annoying thing I would say about it when it comes to stopping bullets is that you can't obviously see through it, and the moment that you peek your head around it, then the enemy just shoots at your face, and that is that. So I would suggest only use this to shield if, like there, if either it's not consistent fire or if you know where the enemy is anyway. Or I would actually say the best time to use the shield to block is when you're dealing with a different enemy and you're prioritizing. So if there's like, if I'm really worried about this guy, for instance, but I don't want to have to deal with both of them, I can just shield one of them and then dispatch with the other one before moving on to the original. Why I sound out of breath, by the way, is mostly because right now in Colorado it is very warm. We are not used to having warm summers here, and it's currently mid-June. as I'm recording, and if you want to go through the historical data banks and look at how warm it is in Colorado, it is like 92 degrees outside. So that is why I am a bit out of breath, but aside from that, as you can see, swords, you want to use as many weapons in this game one-handed as possible. I would say really the only exception is yellow gun, because you can't use it one-handed, and its damage and sniping potential makes it worthwhile. But really every other weapon, it's just not worthwhile. So as you can see, works actually pretty well. Obviously it doesn't deflect anything. Really, like, yeah, there's no way I'm deflecting bullets with this. Like with the shield. Yeah. But it's still a pretty good melee weapon. So where would I put this? I would say this is a pretty good weapon. It's above this, the guitar. I don't know if I've actually shown this one off yet, but I think I did. I might have in some video shown this one off. This one's interesting. The baton, I'm pretty sure I did the baton before. I would say this one's better because of the range and the piercing ability. So you can just kind of do a rapier thrust kind of thing like this to hit enemies. And this one you can, but it's more of a blunt end. As you can see, they both have the spark effect kind of thing when you hit an object, but I'm pretty sure that this point deals more damage because it's actually piercing instead of just bludgeoning, so to speak. I would say it's much better than this because it doesn't get stuck in enemies as easily at all. Yeah, compared to this guy, I'd say it's a lot better because you have a lot more range, so you can theoretically deal damage, even though really you want to be using this piercing end at the tip, kind of like a spear, which I don't believe I've shown off much yet. But I hold the spear way back here because in Boneworks, things generally work better if you hold them closer to the haft here, or whatever it's called, up on the handle. That way it doesn't have as much chance to flail around when you're trying to hit an object or have a chance to deflect. Instead of doing that and like bending up, instead it still does that, but you have a lot more control to just thrust it back down into an enemy. So all of those things are benefits for this, I would say. The crossguard doesn't really matter because there aren't any enemies in the game that use swords. Otherwise, obviously, if they hit and then hit here, that kind of helps. And you can like trap blades with that. But in this game, that doesn't really matter as much. Still, definitely a good weapon. Definitely feels pretty quick and responsive. Katana is honestly a bit slower. And of course, Claymore is really slow. So that's kind of the downside there. I would say it's better than pickaxe, definitely, because even though you still have that piercing end thing, this is offset, whereas this is in line with your hand, which is a lot easier for aiming to hit your enemy. So that's where kind of, that's funny, I went reverse grip there. Let's choose this one then. Sorry, the cable's kind of in my face, but oh my goodness. So, like here, where right there, similar thing here, except that you kind of want to angle your hand up like this to go forward instead of just this. Mostly, of course, because pretty much everything is your size, except for crablets in the game. So if you go for a headshot, this kind of makes that easier. Also, if you extend your arm like this, you get a slight advantage in reach, which can be kind of useful in combat. So that is pretty much everything about this sword. The shield, again, just a really good choice. There's no way I can't give this to the shield. But honestly, I think this sword would have won a lot of versus against most of these weapons. Quite a good pick. I think this sword is in, what do you call it? Handgun range, I'm pretty sure. It should be in Train Station 2 or Central Station 2, I think, because there are a lot of swords there. Otherwise, in normal fantasy arena, I would say this is a decent choice, absolutely. Especially if you don't have katana, this can actually be quite a good choice, I would say, for melee weapon, in case you run out of ammo or you just don't want to use ammo in your run. So, yeah.